The secret Canadian takeover of Made in America. Did you check the label on your lunchbox, your favorite candy bar, or even your new pickup truck? In 2025, a quiet shift is unfolding. A warehouse worker in Ohio noticed his company's trucks now say, "Assembled in Ontario." A retired factory worker in Michigan saw, "Made in Canada," stamped on his grandson's sneakers. It's not just a few products, it's dozens of once American goods now being churned out across the border. There was no press release, no outrage, just a silent, strategic exodus. 10. Heinz Tomato Ketchup. Ever squirted ketchup on your burger and thought, "At least this is American"? Think again. In 2025, millions of bottles of Heinz ketchup on U.S. shelves are being made in Canada. After Heinz shut down its legendary Leamington, Ontario plant in 2014, production temporarily moved to the U.S. But by 2020, the company quietly reopened its plant in Mont-Royal, Quebec. By 2025, it's producing over 100 million pounds of ketchup annually, supplying both Canadian and American markets. So, your all-American barbecue might be sauced by a Canadian tomato. The reason? Lower costs, fewer tariffs, and easy export under USMCA rules. You'd never know unless you check the label, but who really checks a ketchup label, right? 9. O. Henry Candy Bar. Grab a gas station candy bar in 2025, and there's a good chance it came from Canada. Yep, the classic American chocolate bar, O. Henry, is now made north of the border. Hershey's pulled the bar from U.S. shelves in 2019, but it never left Canada. In fact, at their Smiths Falls, Ontario facility, Hershey revived full-scale production and now ships select batches back into U.S. stores, rebranded as Rally. The Canadian version even has a different, more decadent recipe with a fudge core. While Americans think they've moved on from O. Henry, they're unknowingly biting into its Canadian cousin with every Rally bar. 8. Sour Patch Kids Gummy Candy. Thinking of Sour Patch Kids as a classic American candy? You're not alone. But those chewy, sour sweet rebels probably crossed the border before they hit your hand. As of 2025, a massive amount of Sour Patch Kids sold in the U.S. are made in Canada. The secret lies in Hamilton, Ontario, where Mondelez runs one of the largest candy production plants in North America, cranking out millions of pounds of gummies every year. Thanks to USMCA rules, there's no extra cost to ship them back to the U.S. So, while you're at the movies, those all-American candies were likely bagged by Canadian workers just a few days earlier. 7. Chevrolet Silverado Pickup Truck. That Silverado in your driveway, the one that screams, "Built tough, built American"? Check the VIN. If it starts with a 2, you've got a Canadian-born truck. In 2025, a huge portion of Silverado pickups are rolling out of GM's massive assembly plant in Oshawa, Ontario. After closing it in 2019, GM poured over $1.3 billion Canadian dollars into reviving the factory to meet U.S. demand. Now, the Canadian plant is bustling with over 2,600 employees, cranking out one of America's most iconic rides. This shift was driven by Canadian tax incentives, lower energy costs, and a smoother supply chain. While the Silverado still stars in ads with cowboys and cornfields, its roots in 2025 may be more maple than red, white, and blue. 6. BrightDrop EV600 Electric Delivery Van. Ever seen a sleek, electric delivery van pull up to your house and assume it was built in Detroit? Think again. That futuristic ride might have been assembled in the quiet town of Ingersoll, Ontario, because that's where GM's BrightDrop EV600 is born. This was GM's big leap into electrifying the American delivery world, but Canada is the global manufacturing hub for this high-tech American van. However, the plan has hit a snag. By early 2025, sales had tanked, and the factory had to idle production and lay off over 500 workers. Still, every van that does hit American streets is Canadian-built. Thanks to trade perks, GM avoids tariffs by assembling north of the border. So, while a customer in California is getting a package delivered by a shiny new EV, they have no clue that the van rolled out of a factory in Ontario. 5. Bridge Mix. Bridge Mix, a humble bag of chocolate-covered peanuts, raisins, and sweets you've seen near every checkout aisle. But ever wonder who's making it? In 2025, Bridge Mix is now mostly made in Canada. Hershey's Bridge Mixture, the Canadian sibling, is quietly dominating North American shelves from a single source, Smiths Falls, Ontario. As U.S. production costs climbed, the Canadian plant became the go-to hub. The labels may vary, but many American Bridge Mix bags trace their roots back to this one facility. The recipe has even been changed without much notice, with the new flavor profile now having Canada's fingerprints all over it. Thanks to favorable trade terms under USMCA, Hershey can mass-produce in Ontario, skip import tariffs, and distribute the product across the U.S. as if it never crossed a border. 4. Swedish Fish Gummy Candy. You might think Swedish fish are some exotic European import. But those chewy red candies are now made in Canada. Swedish Fish might have originated in Sweden, but it was the U.S. that made it an icon. However, production for the North American market was recently shifted to a Mondelez plant in Hamilton, Ontario. The very Swedish fish you're eating were likely made across the border. This strategic move helps the company cut costs and manage logistics while still flooding American shelves. The packaging still screams U.S. branding, and the flavor is the same, but the quiet shift to Canadian soil is a trend that's happening more and more. 2. Dodge Charger Muscle Car. The Dodge Charger, once the poster child of Detroit's horsepower legacy, is now flexing its muscle north of the border. Since 2005, Dodge has been quietly assembling Chargers in Brampton, Ontario. That's nearly 2 decades of a major American icon rolling out of a Canadian factory. And it's not just a few models. Canada is producing the high-performance Scat Packs and Hellcats. The reason is economics and logistics. Canadian plants offer a skilled workforce, favorable trade agreements, and lower labor costs. With the gas-powered Charger rumored to bow out by 2025, the Canadian-built muscle car might become a collector's item. 1. Chrysler Pacifica Minivan. Guess what's crossing borders while no one is paying attention? The ultra-reliable Chrysler Pacifica minivan, now built exclusively in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Since 2016, the Windsor assembly plant has taken over full production of the Pacifica.